All right, hey everybody, it's Noah with the Zone Podcast. Today I'm with Michael Rannigan. He owns Doc's Roofing. So go ahead, introduce yourself to everybody and let them know about it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Noah, for having me on your podcast. Again, my name is Michael Doc Rannigan, owner, operator of Doc's Roofing and Construction. It was established back in 2016. I believe Noah wants to know how I came up with the name Doc's Roofing. So I'll give you guys a little bit of highlight about who I am and what I'm about. So in 1999, I joined the United States Navy and enlisted in as a hospital corpsman. From there, I was stationed with a Marine Corps unit, the 1st Light Armor Reconnaissance. And everybody remembers September 11, 2001, like it was yesterday. And so I was part of the first initial invasion into Afghanistan, and then we were part of the first initial invasion into Iraq. Fast forward to 2016, we had a pretty major hailstorm in our backyard, and I'd already known a little bit about the roofing industry and some of the good, bad, and indifferent of how homeowners were treated. And being in the medical field, we took what was called a Hippocratic Oath, right? And a Hippocratic Oath is designed for first, do no harm. Right. So in the world of medicine, it's imperative that we do our due diligence when we speak with patients, patient care, bedside manners, so on and so forth, because at the end of the day, you have somebody's life in your hands. And so I took that same concept and applied it to the roofing industry. At the end of the day, I'm taking care of a homeowner who has essentially bit off one of the most expensive assets in their life, right? $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 home loans. So we want to make sure that if a homeowner took that leap of faith in owning this house, it is my responsibility to give them the most value back into their home to increase the value of that property that the homeowners decided to make that decision. Utilizing the core values that I was taught in the military, utilizing the values taught in the medical field, I was able to bring bedside manners to the homeowner, right? Slow, patient, methodical, asking questions, understanding what their true intent was and what their expectation of a contractor was. Come to find out, not a lot of people were given that type of opportunity. They were by other contractors. Understanding the roofing industry is, we get a lot of bad imagery out being a roofing contractor, right? Oh, that's just that contractor. He's going to come in, he's going to grab my first check, and I'm never going to see him again. Or they're going to give me a tail light warranty, right? My warranty's only as good as until you can see my tail lights. Okay, so there was a lot of bad juju going on in our industry, and I wanted to bring a new approach. So we came up with the motto, not your average roofer, right? Because I don't want to be average. I want to go above and beyond for our homeowners. I want to take their pre-existing condition of the roof and I want to upgrade it. I want to add value back into their home, right? And I don't want to break their bank. And I wanted to set the tone that not all contractors are the same, right? And so I utilize a lot of my past experience on how I dealt with people, how I dealt with trauma, how I've come to who I am today, and I give that back to those clients and to those homeowners to make them feel better, right? To make them feel empowered by making an informed decision. A lot of times you get contractors that just roll in, they tell you everything you want to hear, and then they do half-ass work on their roof, right? So things that kind of separate us apart is we document thoroughly. By the time we're done with the project, we have probably close to 300 photos from start to finish, right? And then we give those to the homeowner. The reason behind that is because whenever that homeowner goes to sell their house or say something goes awry 5-10 years down the road, I'm able to go back and review the documentation and be able to go back and inform the homeowner, okay, this is what went wrong, this is why it happened, or no, we weren't responsible, right? It's also a CYA by documenting, so you get and we do what we say we're going to do. Right, so I was reading your questions. It's like, how do you want to ask me the question?
Yeah. Let me ask the question. Here.
I don't want to pretty much steal your show. So go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
For me.
Yeah. This guy's had a podcast before too, so he's in that mode. So talking about not your average roofer, everything like that. We even talked about before we got on here, door to door versus making referral partners or affiliates. So tell us a little bit about that strategy that you've had that differentiates you from the other roofers out there.
So we believe that canvassing is an opportunity to cut yourself in the roofing industry. Okay. Fair? Like, you got to get out there, you got to get your numbers. But what I teach my guys is canvassing is much more than walking around a neighborhood and knocking on the door. Canvassing is essentially just shaking hands with people. Fair?
Yeah.
So we go out and we build relationships with other trades that deal with the same client that we're trying to deal with. Meaning, if you are getting ready to sell your home, I've already built a relationship with that realtor. So what I've done is establish know, like, and trust with that realtor. And when that realtor refers me to that seller, then I've been verified. They're saying, nope, call Doc. He knows what he's doing, but you know what I mean? X, Y, and Z. These are previous work that he's done. And so oftentimes when you go and knock on somebody's door, you're basically having to establish a rapport immediately. So I just nip it in the butt, and I go to the person that they've already established rapport with and gain the credibility from somebody else, right? And how that has affected our company is we've been able to grow and scale by leaps and bounds, because at the end of the day, you don't want your door knocked on. You just don't. I don't want my door knocked on. I've been working all damn day. Some dude shows up at 7 o'clock. Hey, man, I see you got ants on your porch. Do you want some bug spray? You know what I mean? Like, everybody's getting out there, and I get it. You got to get out there. You got to get your brand out there. You got to knock on the doors in order to be successful. But the problem is there's so many different other avenues that we can take to be able to accomplish the same goal, right? So we develop affiliates, relationships with realtors, tradesmen, insurance agencies, anybody that deals directly with the homeowner. I want to build a relationship with. Because not only can we do that, I can refer them, right? I can refer an electrician, an AC guy, and a realtor to that potential client. So we're building a sphere of a network that we can all utilize in the same space.
Whichever business provides the most value wins, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. We don't have a cameraman behind there, so I'm just going to check, see if everything's rolling, see if everything's all good.
Sure, it's all
it should be all good.
I haven't seen anything pause on us.
Nice. All right, cool. 7 minutes in. Let's go.
I got a cameraman right outside. I'll bring her back in. She'll make sure it doesn't do anything.
I mean, we could do that. That's fine.
So, but yeah, go ahead. I don't want to take you off track.
All right, sounds good. So next thing that a lot of people would deal with, and a struggle for a lot of business owners out there, is building a strong team, and almost like a cult-like following, where they're not going to go out there and be like, oh, okay, this guy's got some cheaper pricing, I can get a better commission over here. How do you go ahead and provide more value than just commissions and all that stuff?
So that's a great question, Noah, and I want to tell you right now, I've never put out a now hiring sign. Never reach out to anybody to come work for me. Because people don't work for me, they work with me. So it's a culture that was created with inside Doc's Roofing that was enticing to other people to come and work with me. Because I don't want anybody to work for me. I don't need anybody's help to become successful, right? So the intent behind mine is I want to help you become successful. Because if I pour into you and you become successful, we utilize what's called trickle-down economics, right? So if I can get 10 people creating $1 million worth of sales every single year, then that trickle-down economics, meaning if I take a small cut of 10%, what is 10% of 10 million? I'm asking, what is it?
10% of 10 million. It's $1 million for each.
It's $1 million. So why wouldn't it behoove me to pour into the people and help them become the most successful that they can become? So it really boils down to culture, right? What type of culture are you providing inside of your company? We utilize core values, and I know I'm pointing over here because we have our core values on. You guys can't see it, but we have core values of faith, family, fitness, and finance, right? And it doesn't.
In all aspects of life.
That's right, because that's what counts. And if you guys notice, the very last core value is finance, right? There's a reason behind that. Because it doesn't matter what religion you are, what you believe in, at the end of the day, you have to have faith in something bigger than you. right? If somebody comes to me and they're like, well, I'm an atheist. I'm like, okay, well, then you believe in something. You believe that there's not a God. So therefore you have faith, right? And if you are somebody that doesn't believe, always challenge them. Great. If you don't believe, then go outside and stop the wind. Fair? Like, go outside and make it rain. We haven't had rain in 6 months. Like, somebody who doesn't believe, please go help me out, right? Go show me that you're bigger than something great, right, than what's already out there. So we understand that faith is just believing in something bigger than us, right? And that's all it really boils down to. But you got to have it, because if you have no faith, you can't take massive action. If you can't believe in something greater than you, then how are you supposed to get to the next level in life? Right?
That's an interesting take.
Right? It doesn't matter if it's that doorknob over there, if it's a cat, or what. All you're doing is saying, I believe in something bigger than me can take me to the next level that I want to become. Because if we do Noah's will, Noah's going to get in the way. Right? You're going to get in your way of your own self, because you're smarter than you think of what needs to happen. But if you just say, hey man, I just want the universe to take me where it needs to go, because that's what's going to happen regardless. The universe is going to tell you where you're going to end up. The only time we keep hitting brick walls is when we try to put our own will ahead of the universe's will. Right?
Right.
So,
I mean, even like with luck, like people say there's a lot of luck in there, but it's just you pouring into something bigger than yourself, and then it's pulling back into you.
That's right.
Because you've put in enough steps in front of yourself in order to have that come back to you.
Yeah, karma.
Exactly.
Karma, right? Everybody believes in karma, but they can't believe in God. Right? What's the difference? Everybody believes in the yin and yang. The white is good, the black is bad. It's still faith. I have faith that if I do good and I pour into other people, good comes back. Success comes back. If I'm out there doing bad all the time, bad is what eventually is going to come back. Right? So it doesn't matter if you believe in Jesus Christ, Hindu, Buddha. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. The fact remains is you better have something bigger than you that you can rely on. Right?
I even want to go back to when you were talking about finance was the last thing.
Yeah.
Why is finance the last thing? Because I would think that you need to have your finances in check in order to get at those other areas of life and have space to get into those other areas.
Sure. Imagine being morbidly obese and have all the money in the world.
That's not good. Yeah, that's not.
So if your health is in question, then the money can't get you out.
I feel like if you have money, though, you're able to
What, lose weight?
Diet, like get a better diet.
It has nothing to do with the diet. It has everything to do with what's in your mindset. Right? Your diet isn't what caused you to become fat. Your poor thought process is. Right? It has nothing to do with your money. Has everything to do with how you feel on the inside. Right? So addiction comes in various forms. Food, alcohol, drugs, shopping. Right? But if you don't have control over that, you can have all the money in the world and it doesn't amount to anything. Right?
If anything, like it'll
Problem.
Yeah, it'll make it bigger.
It'll make your problem even worse.
Because whoever you are before you have money, when you get money, it's just an amplifier to you.
That's right. And if you're not a good steward of your money, then what good is it? So say you have all the money in the world, but every time you walk in the door, your wife and kids don't know who you are. Because all you've been doing is chasing money. So how does that money buy back your time? It doesn't. I've already missed my child's birthday. Right? I can't go back in time and say, well, I got $100. Can I get my daughter's birthday back? Doesn't work. Doesn't work that way. Right? So we get confused that money is how we attain success. But it's not. If you raise a child and you've never went to one of their games because you were out chasing money, well, that doesn't fill my heart. Right? Money does not buy happiness. Right? It can buy you things to make you happy. Right? But it's never going to buy back the time that you sacrificed to get the money. Right? But if you had faith from the get-go that you were going to be successful and that you were going to attain money and you were going to be financially free, well, then you don't have to worry about the finances any longer. Because my faith's on point, my family loves me, my children know who I am, right? My health is good. I'm not worried about being in a hospital because I ate too much, or I didn't have a strong body, or I couldn't do what I needed, right? You can have all the money in the world and still be the loneliest man. Look at what's his nuts, Steve Jobs.
What's his nuts?
Right? Steve Jobs on his deathbed wrote a letter. I'm the richest man in the world with nobody to share it with. How can you be the richest man in the world and die lonely? Was the money worth it? Makes you kind of look at the things on a new perspective, right? So you can, again, finance is the bottom. That's why they say money is the root of all evil.
What about those people that are in that spot where they don't have the money right now, and it really is like that's the only thing they can focus on, the only thing they can bring themselves to do?
They need to have a little bit of faith.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Because if that's what their mindset is on, well, man, I got to get that next dollar. Well, I got to get that next dollar. I'm going to use Michael's will to get that next dollar, versus taking a step back and saying, hey, universe, is there any way let your will be done and not mine? If it's your will for me to become successful, go ahead and allow it to be done. Because at the end of the day, I will screw up because I'm human. Because I don't know what the end result truly is. So I wake up in the morning and say, God, let your will be done and not mine. So whatever happens, happens. And if I don't sit and meditate and want to have complete control over it, shit hits the fan when I start putting my will involved, right? Oh, I should have made a left instead of a right, right? Oh, well, that path was way more difficult to go down than my path. My path was easy. Well, cool, you can get there on easy street, but you won't gain the same insight, knowledge, and success that you did by going a little bit more difficult.
That's another one that I want to hit on is, like, do you think that you need to have pain in order to get success?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Otherwise, you'll never be grateful for what you've accomplished. Okay. You'll never be able to pour into somebody else when they experience that pain. If I can't be relatable to my team, right? You ask me, how do you build a team and keep them? Right? It's because I'm relatable. I would never ask one of my teammates to go dig a hole if I've never dug a hole before. Right? I am no better than they are, right? I'm not here with my team. I'm right here. I'm on the same damn level. I am never going to ask any of my team members to go do something that I've never done. What type of leader is that? It's not. It's not. It's the guy in the back smashing the whip, right? It's the guy in the back. You've seen the poster? What true leadership is? The leader is the guy at the front, pulling, getting shit done, embracing the suck, right? Whereas somebody that's in the back and just cracking the whip, they're not a leader, they're a tyrant. And they wonder why their turnover is so high, right? Why do people keep leaving me? Well, you keep taking all the money. You don't ever give them any praise. You never accolade them. You never tell them how great a job they're doing. You got to pour into your people in order for them to stick around. When we have our team meetings on Wednesday, I'll put one person in the center, and I'll have everybody in the room go around and tell them how great of a person they are. You can't buy that.
I've never heard a company like do that.
You can't buy that.
Yeah.
What does that do for their mentality? What does that do to bring them up to the next level of being, okay, good. They get a new bravado, right? Mm-hmm. They shake off their day and they go, fuck yeah, man, all these people are telling me how great I am. They have nothing but to be able to be great because I poured it into you. I told you that you're the greatest, right? When the whole entire time their family told them, no, don't do it. You're never going to make it, right? Family's the hardest people to convince that you're self-employed. They're your first naysayer. What'd you do before you became a podcaster?
Knocking doors.
Knocking doors. Before that? Nothing.
Just
like
right? Working.
Right.
I've always been doing that. And then I had a couple jobs like lifeguarding and working some cars.
And then when you went and you told your mom, hey mom, I'm a solar panel expert. They're like, oh, good job, Noah. Right? Yeah. They didn't believe in you. Yeah. They were like, no, you're the lifeguard. You're the fucking guy that we knew. You're the athlete. Right? They knew you from your past. Right? So we have to retrain our circle of the new us, right? Because the most difficult person to convince that you're ready to go to another level are the people closest to you. And they're your biggest hater. They really are. You know why most people don't want to see you become successful?
It's a bad reflection on them.
No, because misery loves company. Right? If they see you pulling away from the pack, Oh, that's Noah. Must be nice, Noah. Right?
Yeah.
You know I ain't wrong, right?
I mean, yeah, to an extent. I mean, I think if you have other people in your family that are self-employed and that know that spot, they can relate to you.
Sure.
But even them sometimes, they can hit it to where it's like, well, I did this.
Yeah.
I don't know if Noah's got this.
Exactly. Because it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of failure. It's a lot of mistakes. It's a lot of risk. And when you want to go and you ask for your family for an opportunity, they remember the Noah from yesterday. They don't remember the Noah of tomorrow, right? And so it's easier to go and meet somebody new that doesn't know you and explain to them the new version of yourself versus somebody that's known you for 10 years. Right. And they're like, no, that's not how I remember them, right? So that's probably one of the biggest things inside of the roofing industry is that when I got into the industry, they knew me as a medical person. How the hell are you going to do roofs when you've used to fix bodies? Right? And I answer them. I said, well, if I'm good enough to fix bodies, I'm pretty sure I'm good enough to fix your roof. Right? If you call the doc when your leg is broke, you might as well call the doc when your roof is broke. You know what I mean? So you just have to be able to position yourself in a way to be respected as the new version that you want to become. And those that don't want to give me that certain recognition, well, they're not supposed to be in my life in the first place. So that's the unique thing about faith. Faith will put people in your life that's supposed to be there and remove people from your life that's not supposed to be there. And we often wonder, and we don't understand why. And we get caught up around the axle, curious, well, why is this person no longer around me? And these people are here, right? That's because something bigger than ourselves is taking action because you've put it into the universe.
Kind of switching gears a little bit, what has been your most memorable customer interaction that you've had?
That's a loaded question. There's a lot of memories. It'll probably been easier. What's the most memorable customer that I didn't like?
I mean, yeah, you could go with that too.
But I would say it was he's a retired sergeant major of the Army. Very knowledgeable individual. Very above board kind of guy. And if anybody knows anybody that's retired from the military, know good order and operation. Okay, they're a stickler for details. They understand processes, and they're very astute when it comes to implementing a progress, right? And so this man really poured into me as a young business owner, saying, hey, man, if you would have went and done it this way, it would have probably happened out this way. So when I say memorable, it's the clients that actually pour back into me that are self-employed, that do have more experience, right? That are willing to help a small business owner get to that next spot in business, right? So I would say it was a gentleman not too long ago, retired sergeant major of the Army, and he just took the time out to say, hey, these are some things that you can improve. These are some things that you did great at. And he was willing. He wasn't bashing me as a company. He was pouring into me as an owner because he was an owner of a business, right? And so those are the type of clients that you never know that you're going to get, that you end up taking something more valuable than the check that they give you.
Yeah. I feel like those people are just like in that faith aspect where they're just coming in and they needed to come in at that one time to get you to where you are right now. Now, I'm not going to lie. What would be one of those ones that you were kind of like the crazy stories? I've heard a lot of crazy stories from a lot of people because we deal with these type of things as business owners. Sure. We deal with a lot of these type of things, and I think a lot of people can relate to the different stories that they've heard. Do you have any that come off the top of the head? Yeah,
I'm dealing with one right now. And it's typically the clients that you give something away to for free.
Interesting.
I know it sounds crazy, but in all the times I've been in business, it's usually the ones where I try to go above and beyond and do something for free to them, right? Either I'm offering to put bushes in their flower bed or remulch their flower bed or maybe replace a piece of damaged trim or something, right? Then they're the ones that want to nitpick. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And I'm like, well, what about the $5,000 worth of free stuff that I gave you? Right? So oftentimes when we give, it can kind of bite us in the butt, because they will continue to take you to the next level and pull that little piece of string, right, and unravel you to where you get so frustrated that you're like, you know what, cool, keep the money. I don't even care. I'm out. Just let me go, right? And that happened like this. There was a client where his fireplace was blown over, landed on his house, and removed the fireplace from his home, rebuilt the fireplace, sent him an invoice for $9,000. He said, hey, man, that's way too expensive. I said, well, cool. Why didn't you do it yourself? Right? And he was like, well, I don't want to use you anymore. I'm like, well, you still owe me $9,000. He goes, well, my insurance isn't paying for it. I said, I'm not dealing with your insurance. This isn't between me and your insurance company. It's between me and you. You deal with your insurance, right? Because he wanted to keep a cash bid. He didn't want to give me the insurance paperwork because he thought he was smarter than the system. So I eventually ended up going and putting a lien on his house, and he wrote me a check for $9,000. You know, I did my job. I removed your fireplace, built you a brand new fireplace. You didn't like the price, but that's not my problem. You agreed to it. And I wasn't overpriced. I mean, it was a lot of work. You built a brand new 8-foot fireplace, removed it from your house. It's not like it's some walk in the park. I'm talking them 2 stories in the air. Yeah. Like, what about my safety? You know what I mean? So typically the worst clients that we have are the ones where we want to go above and beyond, and we do some free stuff, and they just keep wanting more and more and more until you get frustrated and say, look, just keep your money. I don't want your money because I want my peace. Because I don't know if you've ever been there. I use this thing called HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If I feel any of those emotions, I need to stop what I'm doing. And I'll tell you what, if you ever have a client that you're dealing with that is difficult, do not show up to that client's home hungry. Like, you'll say the wrong thing. And it's not intentional. It's just your emotion is getting the best of you because you're hungry. You know what I mean? Or if you're tired, right? If any of those emotions that you're feeling, you don't want to go and try to make progress with your client. If you're feeling a negative vibe, if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, those are negative energies, right? So if I show up and I'm full and I'm well rested, now I'm able to overcome objections that come at me, right? Because I have no other negative energy going on inside me. I'm able to stay cool, calm, and collective.
Not a lot of entrepreneurs out there that even talk ever about stopping. And that was interesting that you were like, hey, if you are any of these things when you go out there, don't just push through it. Because if you push through it, you're going to say the wrong thing. You're not going to be at the right mind space. Maybe go on the computer, do something else where you can go. Because you still got to work. You still got to show up. Show up in a different way that's smarter and better than showing up like that.
Stop and eat.
Yeah.
Most of us don't stop and eat. Right? Most entrepreneurs, they get going, they get their coffee and their quick little breakfast. Next thing you know, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. Yeah. Right? So we're not maintaining our health, which is in turn going to affect our finance. So yes, why is finance last? Right? So my health consists of me eating. If I don't eat before I try to get my money, well, the odds of me getting my money are going to be skewed because my brain is like, I need to eat. I don't care about your money. But I'm putting my food on the back burner and I'm trying to go get my check, and the guy's got issues. Now I'm hungry and I can't focus on his issues. So that's why health affects your finance. That's why finance is at the very end. Because if my health is off, if my family's mad at me, if my faith is off, then it's going to be so much more difficult to acquire that money. Right? Because all 4 of them work in unison with each other. And if I negate one, it's going to affect all 4.
Got to have a strong balance below you in order to actually achieve farther.
That's right. You have to have a solid foundation in order to take you to the next level, right? That's why they tell you don't build a house on sand.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You got to have a foundation. And you ask, well, how do you keep people from turning over? It's because of the foundation that was set from the beginning. You have core values that you don't stray from. And as soon as you begin to stray from your core values, well, that's when you start seeing the ripple effect of stuff falling apart. That's the domino effect. Because I skewed on my integrity, right? I was willing to bend the truth just a little bit, right? I was willing to skip leg day. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was willing to eat something that I wasn't supposed to. I wasn't willing to adhere to my guidelines because I wanted a shortcut, right? And as an entrepreneur, we look for shortcuts, right? You always hear, well, don't reinvent the wheel, right? But sometimes if you get into a motion and you fail to give back to your faith, and you fail to give back to your family, and you fail to give back to your health, and all you're focusing on your finances, you're left with a litany of excuses up here. Well, I didn't do it because I was hungry. Well, I didn't do it because I'm overweight and I don't have the energy. Well, I didn't sleep very well. Well, you know what I mean? Well, my wife is mad at me. You have all this bullshit that you have to deal with before you can get to the end result your desired end result. The money's last, because it doesn't make any sense if I'm going through a damn divorce. What's that money for if my family's broken?
Doesn't matter at that point. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Because then you're willing to do whatever it takes to get your family back.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So switching back to even shortcuts and all sorts of like becoming more efficient, everything like that. Mm-hmm. What do you think AI, automation, new technology, stuff like that will affect the roofing market?
So it's a great question. And AI technology is going to be a double-edged sword. Right. Okay, I think it'll be beneficial in some ways and disingenuous on the other. And what I mean by that is we utilize certain AI technology with drones to be able to document. We're able to utilize certain AI technology when reviewing insurance paperwork. But the issue we're going to run into is when homeowners figure it out too. So why would a homeowner actually need to go and find a roofing company if all they need to do is find is an AI company that can process the whole entire thing? Right? So it's almost going to be like self-checkout, where we're not needed. So what is the roofing contractors to do? Well, I'll tell you, we become consultants, right? Because right now the biggest issue we face in our industry are obnoxious deductibles. $8,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 deductibles. Right now, the State of Union of the United States of America is 80% of people live paycheck to paycheck, right? And I come to your home and you have an $8,000 deductible. Right? And they're like, hey, I can't afford this. My kid's in college. My husband just lost his job. We didn't save any money. Right? Which is crazy because they just got back from Disney. Yeah. Right? They just got the brand new pair of Air Jordans. But we don't have no money. But we're driving a doggone brand new Denali. Right? Because Americans' priorities are out of whack. Right? We're steadily keeping up with the Joneses. We're steadily borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. We're living credit card to paycheck, right? All my credit cards are maxed out. All I'm doing is doing the bare minimum, right? We're in this freaking rat race that we have to keep up with somebody next door, right? And we're willing to do whatever it takes. Oh my gosh, she's got the new red pumps. Well, I need the new red pumps. And they go put it on a credit card at a 29% interest rate on a $100 pair of shoes. Now you've just paid $200 for a $100 pair of shoes.
That makes me sick even thinking about it, though.
But it's facts. Yeah. It's truth. How many credit cards do you own?
I'm owning credit cards.
Right. Smart.
I'm just an authorized user, so I get credit without the...
You see what I'm saying, though? Yeah. You get somebody who gets into a bind, and they say, well, just put it on a credit card, and you'll pay it off next month.
Yeah, it's very tempting.
Right? Yeah. Oh, just get a fuel card. Yeah. Right? And then what do? You end up paying the bare minimum. Yeah. Right? $30. Next thing you know, you still have a $200 debt on your gas card. You're paying $30.
Even with us, we go through Stripe as our payment processor, and they were like, you guys have such a good volume right now, you're actually eligible for this loan.
That's right.
And we were like, man, we can invest in this, and this. Let's go. And I'm glad I got a good CFO because
don't buy it.
Exactly.
Right? If you can't afford it, don't buy it. Now, am I saying debt is bad? Absolutely not. No, yeah. Right? Debt is not bad. But understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt is what's important. Right? So I have fuel cards that I manage. Right? Because it's a tax write-off. And I'm the one managing it. Because I'm going to spend the money regardless on fuel. So if I'm out there already spending the dollar, might as well get points on the card. Right? Might as well get an ROI on that credit card. So if you're out there shopping for credit cards, make sure that there's an ROI on that card, like American Express. I get 5 points earned for every dollar I spend with a certain supply company. So by the end of the year, I've spent $1 million in supplies times 5 points, I got free vacations that I now can buy my team a trip. So that's a free trip. So if you understand how debt works, then it's going to be a beautiful thing. But if you're getting into debt so that you can pay your electric bill, well, you got a far bigger problem, right? So we use debt to get ahead in life because we're responsible stewards of our money. But if you're getting into credit card debt so that you can put gas in your car, well, you need to evaluate your spending. So we utilize what we call the 10-70-30 rule, right? So for every $100 you make, 10% you donate to something that you care about, right? The tithe, right? 70% is what you live off of, right? The other 20% gets invested or gets saved. So you create a financial discipline within yourself to say, for every $100 I make, I'm going to live off of $70. So you become self-disciplined. You realize that you can't eat out every single day. You skip it. You bring a lunch, right? So how do you become a financial steward of your money in order for you to get where you want 5 years from now? So we use the term sacrifice today so you can have tomorrow, right? And that's what you have to do. You got to sacrifice right now so you can have what you want tomorrow. But if I'm blowing every single $100 bill that I ever get, how am I ever going to make progress in life? You're not, because you're going to keep chasing the $100 bill when you should have been saving $20 out of every $100. And if you do that long enough and consistently enough, we like to use what's called compounding interest. Are you familiar with compounding interest?
Yeah.
Right? 1 + 1 is 2, 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 4 is 8, 8, 16, 36, so on and so forth. You see the math. Same concept applies. But the problem is it's not instant gratification. Right? We live in a world of instant gratification. And if we don't get instant gratification, then it's not for us. Because our brain, right, the information that has been given to us these years has told us if you can't have it now, then it's not worth having. We don't understand delayed gratification, and it boils down to our emotional intelligence. Right? So if you have a strong emotional intelligence, then you're able to utilize delayed gratification. You're able to stay calm, cool, collective in an argument, right? Because your emotions, you dictate your emotions don't dictate you. Okay? Right. Oftentimes we believe that our brains are in control, but in fact, we're in control of our brains, right? I'm in charge of what I consume. If I'm consistently consuming negative stuff, well, then that's the kind of energy I'm going to put out. But if I'm steadily learning how to control my emotions, how to be a good steward, how to increase my faith and spirituality, then the odds of me failing are muted. Because I've set boundaries, I've set expectations. I'm willing to take the hard road to get where I want, right? The path of least resistance is only going to take you so far because everybody's there. You're going to show up down the path of least resistance and realize there's 1,000 people there that you now have to compete with, and you're all wondering what the fuck happened. Yeah. And they all got their hand out. Hey, you made it, Noah. You got any extra? I don't know, man. We're doing this path with you guys. And then you look over there to the left of the path of least resistance, and you see the millionaires, and you see the small amounts of people. But they've also put in the hard freaking work, the sleepless nights, the sacrifice, right? And they wonder, well, how come I'm not over there and I'm over here? Because you chose an easier, softer way.
And throughout this whole conversation, it's always boiled down to creating yourself better. Right. It's not about, and I feel like it's a very surface level thought that you're like, hey, this guy's got money. It's because of the stuff that he's done to get the money. Mm-hmm. But it's really internally, he became the type of person who earned that right to have that money.
That's right.
So.
So sacrifice today so you can have tomorrow, right? I use an analogy as if you change your mindset, you'll change your playground.
I saw that on your Facebook, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So if you're tired of sliding down hot, rusted slides, well, stop showing up to that park. You know what I mean? Go find somewhere else to play it. Right? They say that if you hang out with 5 crackheads, you become the sixth crackhead, right? So what is your network look like? If you change your network, you change your net worth. right? I started hanging out with people that were millionaires. I started hanging out with people that have done 10, 20, 30, 40 millionaires. Next thing I know, I'm hanging out with billionaires, right? You know what billionaires don't do? Buy the next flashy thing. They just don't.
I even had a conversation in my last podcast. He was talking about billionaires, and there's this misconception. We've touched on it a little bit here, but like, you need to be alone. Like you got to go at it yourself. It's almost like the American dream is lonely.
It is lonely.
But it's not true. It seems like it's just not true because if you're surrounding yourself with those type of people, and then you have a wife, you have kids, you have people that are around you that are uplifting you, having all those things before you get to the finance, that's where you actually really get it.
That's right. So it's
a misconception.
Well, it's lonely getting started.
Okay.
Right? And what I mean by that, when I started, I had one network of people. But in order for me to put new people in my network, I had to get rid of. So as the process occurs, you're getting rid of people that you no longer want to be around, so then you become lonely, right? So then it's going to take time to fill in the seats of the new network that you want. So that's why they say that it's kind of lonely on the trip, right? Because you're always moving somebody out and moving somebody in. So you can go a certain amount of time where you don't really even associate yourself with anybody, because you're focused. You've learned what you needed to learn from those people, and now you're implementing, right? So there's phases of work. You start out, you plateau, and then you start the hard work, and you're working your way up, right? You're working your way up. And then you get to the top, and you're like, wow, I made it. Well, no, you just made it to the top of that hill. Now you got to get rid of all the fucking shit that you learned, add new stuff, and then now you're going downhill, right? Because you've lost all your network. You lost all your traction that you once gained, and now I need new people. I need billionaires in my circle now. Well, how hard is it to get involved with billionaires? I can't just walk into a church, but who's my billionaires at? Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to come. So you have to be lonely to go and find them, right? Anybody that wants to go and catch a whale, they're typically out in the middle of the ocean by themselves for a while. And then once you catch that whale and you bring it on shore, now all the people are here. Oh, my friends. Same concept, right? It is lonely to get to where you want to go because you have to find those other lonely people because they're doing the exact same thing I'm doing. They're looking for other billionaires. And so when all the success people are out there looking for other successful people, we just accidentally come together and they're like, oh, there y'all are. I'm like, yeah, man, it was a fucking long road to meet you guys, right? But it's easy to fill your life with people that have handouts, right? It's real difficult to find the people that are willing to give you a hand up.
Right, and we talked about shortcuts and everything, but even with this podcast here, I've gotten in touch with so many people, but honestly, when I first started, there wasn't a whole bunch of people that were like, and I had to leverage the network that I already created through that door-to-door, through that spot, in order to actually get those people on in the first place. Yeah. So I can sit here and say, you know, I had a team this whole time, but in reality, no, I actually did take a hiatus. That's right. And I was alone for a while. I kind of shut that out a little bit. Yeah. But
then you found a group of people.
Right. Yeah.
Right? You found a new group of people that you were searching for because the network that you currently had wasn't doing it for you.
I drove across the country to get to those people.
That's right. You would.
I was like,
So same concept, right? Because you were willing to sacrifice today, right, in order to get to where you wanted tomorrow. And if that meant driving clear across the country to meet with somebody, I just flew to Chicago on Friday to meet some people, and I came back Saturday so I could be with my family, right? And I told them, I said, look, I'm leaving. I'm coming right back. But I had to do what it takes. So a lot of when people wonder, well, how did you get so successful? And I said, I did the shit that people aren't willing to do. That's why there's only a handful of millionaires. That's why it's called the 1%ers.
And even people looking at your trip right there, they're like, you went all the way out there just to meet people?
That's right. That's right. Because the greatest form of investment is self-investment. Yeah. Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to turn around and hand Noah a damn $1 million check. Noah, it's the best podcast I've ever been on, brother. Here's $1 million. It's just not how it works. We can often sell ourselves false sense of reality, right? And so if I can offer any piece of wisdom, the very first step that made me successful is when I became honest with me. Right? When I looked at myself in the mirror, am I the person that is worthy of that success? Right? I had to do a deep dive into what are my characteristic defects? What are my characteristic attributes? What are the areas of my life that I need to work on? And you know what I mean? And acknowledge the problem. Right? Oftentimes we want to turn a blind eye to our issues. No, I don't drink too much. Right? No, I don't step out of my marriage ever. When you're fucking lying, when you're sitting there looking at pornography, right? Or when you're sitting there, no, I don't drink too much, but you kill a case of beer every Friday night, right? No, I have plenty of money, but you're living paycheck to paycheck and your wife doesn't know it, that you're living on credit card debt, right? Because we're afraid of the truth. But the problem is the truth will set you free. And I'm just human too, folks. I still make mistakes. I still have issues. I still have white lies that come off my lips. It's progress, not perfection, right? I'm just trying to do the next right thing when nobody's looking, and it's hard work. Hey, man, how well are you doing? I'm doing great, right? But in the behind closed door, man, money's not coming in when I needed it to. Right? But when I can be honest with my team, hey, Doc, how's the company doing? Well, this is how we're doing, folks. We're about $300,000 in debt. I need you to pump your numbers up because if you don't, the lights are going out. Yeah. Right? You have that kind of real talk with your team and you involve your team with not only the great but the worst, then your team has buy-in. Well, shit, Doc, we're not going to let you fail. You didn't let us fail. So now they got buy-in, right? If I share the hurdles with them, then it's not as bad of a hurdle because now I got a team willing to push us to the next level.
So
That's a very transparent individual at this company.
Well, yeah, but I'm interested because I'm like, a lot of people wouldn't share that with their team.
Why not?
Because they're like, I need to be at that spot where, yeah, because it was that spot with the dude with the whip. It's not the person who's at the freaking
right. Yeah. What do I have to hide?
Yeah.
Because I lead. I don't need you to be successful. It's up to me to hit my numbers, right? Mm-hmm. If they go, Mike, I want to be a millionaire like you. Great, go hit the fucking numbers. Yeah. Go put I'll teach you how to hit the numbers, so you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But if I'm willing to share and expose my vulnerability, what does that do for the person that I'm exposing it for? Then they're allowed to be vulnerable with me too.
And even right now, thinking about it, I'm like, oh, well, you'll scare them off because the company's not there, but good.
Good. Then I don't need you.
Right.
That means you're going to be there. If you're not willing to crawl through the mud with me, then you're not allowed to share the success with me either. Right? If you're not willing to grab a shovel and get dirty and and work through the heartache and the trials and the tribulation and walk through the fucking fire of hate, then why do I want you with me when I'm sitting on top? And that's the problem. Everybody wants to come in on your coattails and rise to the top with no effort. I don't want you. I don't need you. I want you to face adversity with me so that we can go through it together, so that we can win together. Right? Because it ain't fun at the top with nobody. Right? It's just not. There's no fun if I got all this money and all this success and I can't share it with nobody. What's the point? So I'd rather pour into all these people and get them to the level that they want to go so that when we're standing there at the top, I'm looking around going, fuck yeah, man. I just helped all of these people get successful. So there's a bigger reward than money. When you took somebody from, and I'll tell you a story, right? So I got a guy on our team. His name's Jeremiah. Kid's about 24 years old. Really difficult life. Raised in the Bronx of New York. Parents died when he was a teenager. Kind of left to be raised by his grandma. Somehow or another, he landed on my doorstep. He's got dreadlocks down to the middle of his back. Just straight, looks like a thug. Comes to me, Mike, how come I'm not winning? I said, your appearance. He goes, man, I ain't cutting my hair. I said, cool, don't cut it. He comes back a week later, hey, man, why ain't I winning? I said, that's your appearance, man. I said, you look like a Rastafarian, right? and you walk with it. I said, your dreadlocks is your image that you're portraying to people out there. So the people are perceiving you as one thing, but your inside is different. I said, your hair is defining you as a person. And that's how you're walking, talking, and acting. I said, cut your hair and redefine you. And he didn't want to. He kept holding on. And finally, one day, he came to the realization that I was right. And he goes, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to cut my hair. I'm going to listen to what you got to say. Since then, he has closed 22 deals because he was tied to an older image of himself from the Bronx. He was the Jeremiah from the Bronx. Today, he's the Jeremiah with Doc's Roofing and Construction, right? He's got a whole new identity, right? And that's sometimes what people need, is they need a shift in identity because they were told you're never going to make it. When I was a kid, I was told you're going to end up in jails, institutions, and death. That was it. That was my only outcome of life, right? By my family. Well, family like that, who needs enemies, right? So I proved them wrong, right? I was the first one to join the military. I was the first one to get married before having a child. I was the first one to graduate with a bachelor's degree. I was the first one that opened up their own business. I hit a bunch of firsts in my family, right? Because I didn't want to repeat. I didn't want a repeat of a shitty life, right? I didn't want to raise my children the way I was raised. Not that it was horrible, but I knew it could be better. So do you want to be influenced or do you want to be empowered?
Empowered, yeah.
Right. So everybody out there is on this I'm an influencer thing. But why would I want to be influenced by an idea versus why don't I get empowered with my own ideas? Right? So when you get influenced, you can typically do things you really don't want to do because you were influenced. But if I empower you to make the decision, then it's on you.
How do you make that differentiation? How do you make it? Like, how do you, on a technical piece, like on being in that actual spot? Are you
okay? So for instance, right? Say I say, hey, I read this book, Think and Grow Rich, and I have a definite chief aim of being a millionaire within 10 years. Is that something you want to do?
No, that's not something specific. It's not my specific goal.
No, that's not the question. I says that's something you would like to do.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
That sounds good. Yeah.
So now I've just influenced you.
Right.
Versus, hey, if you want to accomplish the goals that you want, I would highly encourage you to read this book and implement these things with that knowledge. Now I've just empowered you with information that I can never take you away from. Right? So I can either influence you on a path that can get you there, but you're beholden to me. You got to constantly call me. Hey, Mike, all right, I'm at this step. Now what? I'm never giving you the real tools or knowledge to make you think on your own. When I influence you, you're basically relying on me to get you there. But if I empower you, it's up to you to gain the necessary knowledge so that you can make informed decisions and treat it the way you want to be treated. Right? So it's a difference between imitating and emulating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Because it's not being a copycat. It's not that other thing. Even going back to earlier where we were talking about don't recreate the wheel, stuff like that. Innovate, change things up.
I'll make it a little bit easier. We'll bring it into the roofing game. If I'm sitting down there with the client, I don't want to influence them to make a decision. I want to empower them to make an informed decision. Right? So that's the difference. If I've pushed you into making a decision, is that really fair to that client? Because I've given you all of the information to force you down this path to make I've influenced you to make the decision. But if I sit there and I say, hey, these are your options. This is the information. This is the end result. Please research who I am and the idea that I just talked to you about and let me know now that you've made an informed decision. So now I've just put power back into the homeowner. Right? Because it's their house. Yeah. It's their money. I shouldn't influence them on how to spend it. I need to empower them so that they're educated on how to spend it. So that's the difference between, am I trying to influence you or am I trying to empower you? Because you're going to hang on to that knowledge many, many more years longer than if I just influenced you. So there's totally difference in between being an influencer and somebody that empowers somebody to go to another level. Teachers empower students, right? By teaching them how to do math. But if I just answered all your math questions for you, I've just influenced you on an easier, softer way to go. But if I sit there and I take time to empower you on how to do math, then you'll never ever stop knowing how to do math. It goes back to the same analogy of it's all biblical, right? It says you can teach a man to fish and he'll fish forever, right? But if I give a man a fish, he's only going to eat one time. So do I want to teach a man to fish, or do I want to just feed people? Influencers feed people. People that empower other people teach, and to become more prosperous down the road.
That's definitely a good differentiation between those two different spots, because I think a lot of people do just get influenced and then they become into this, they lose a part of themselves too, because they watch all these people that are influencing decisions and they're like, this isn't the same person that I want to be. I'm being influenced right now, instead of these are the principles that I follow. And not even principles, but like straight up just he helped me make that first step.
Right. But
now I'm in that decision. Exactly.
Right? Exactly. So that's the difference between being an influencer and somebody that empowers, right? You made the conscious decision to make the step in the direction you want to go, but if I influence you to make that step and it didn't work out, who are you going to be mad at?
Yeah, you're going to be mad at you.
You'll be mad at me.
Yeah.
Well, you suggested, right? Versus if I empower you, I said, no, man, I told you that you need to read this, you need to do a SWOT analysis on this, and you need to be more educated on that.
And even people end up being like, oh, they start getting into that quote race. And it's even in the book of Seneca, when he's talking about, like, there's a bunch of guys who are out there just quoting other men. Just That's like, right. Hey, this is my quote. This is the quote. This is who's influenced me. Instead of, well, I had a mentor. Right. And then I created my own path.
Yeah. So a lot of I come up with my own quotes, right? If you can't be good at it, right? The devil's outside doing push-ups. Change your mindset, change your playground, right? Somebody called them docisms. They're like, you need to write these down. I was like, I'm not writing shit down, right? Because I don't like to be told what to do. I like to be suggested what to do. Now, if he said, hey, Mike, in the future, it would behoove you if you started writing down these little ideas, it could take you a long way. That's going to fall differently on my ears. Now he's empowered me. But if he's like, hey, you need to write these down, otherwise you're not going to be successful. I'm like, what? Shit, hold my beer, watch this shit. Right? Yeah. So that's the difference between being influenced and being empowered, right? But the real question is, if I influence people, I'm labeled as an influencer. If I empower people, what am I labeled as?
I don't know.
An emperor?
An emperor.
I don't know. I just made it up.
I have no idea what you would call yourself.
Right. What do you? An empowerer?
Yeah, an empowerer.
But that doesn't sound right. No. But an emperor does. Because it kind of sounds like an empower and an emperor, right? And what is an emperor?
Somebody who rules.
Somebody who rules and leads and gives back, right, to their people. So an emperor empowers his people to gain success, right? If you look back on ancient history, most emperors empowered their people to get to the next level. That's what the Chinese people did. They gave the power away to their people in order for the greatest success of their country, right? Completely different than what America is doing to their people. America is influencing the American people. Hey, look what this guy did. Shifting the way I look at that person. Versus saying, hey, you guys need to do some research. Here are the facts about these people, right? Now they're empowering us with the data. But what does the America fucking elite do? They hide the data, right? And they try to influence us and lead us down one path or the other. They don't give us all the knowledge that we need to make an informed decision. They just want to influence us to make whatever decision they want us to make, versus giving us the power to make informed decisions. They want us to believe what they want us to believe. But if you're like, no, I'm good, and you start researching it, you'll find out that they're just as full of shit as the next person. That's why I don't do politics, folks.
Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and end it off. I'm gonna have all the stuff in the description. But other than that, It was awesome to have you on here, Michael. I'm going to have everything in the description. If you guys want to get a roof or you want to check him out, join the team, anything like that. I mean, you spent an hour with him now, so.
Yeah, that's who I am. I'm about as real as it gets. I don't have nothing to hide. If you do want to reach out, number's 214-284-0695. Or again, you can check out our website, docsroofing.net. I am not a coach, but I will offer you some information on what steps you can take to get to the next level that you want to be at.
Cool. Well, other than that, it's another one out.